about belonging and home, which I absolutely love. So, Jen, welcome.
Thank you. And just so you know, most people think I am Nora, and I'm completely okay with that. Nora's my dog. She's she was supposed to be the face of the company. Didn't
I
turn
love
out that
that.
way, but
I love
most people think I'm Nora, and I'm okay with that.
That's okay. It was so funny. And then the one day we're at an event and they were like, Jen, and I'm like, I don't know who they're talking about. And then they're like, that's Jen over there. And I was like, oh, okay. I
Your
thought that was Nora,
your
but that's,
alter ego,
yes.
It
right?
is my alter ego. Yes.
That's so
Yeah.
funny.
Nora did it.
Um,
Sorry. I don't know.
no, well, we'll get right into the questions because I'm interested to learn. We're going to talk a little bit about your business first, and then I'm going to ask you about that, mental health journey that we talked about. But let's talk about how this all started. Okay, so where it all began. So, can you tell us a little bit about how your business, Nora's Possum Teas, got started?
Sure. Well, I have a Bachelor of Science in graphic design, and that has been my career throughout my whole since post-grad life. And I was on a journey with my own mental health. I had all but given up design. Um, a lot of the jobs I had didn't fully allow me to express my creativity in this way. A lot of times you're designing what other people want you to design, not what you think is right. Um, and most of the jobs I had didn't allow for time to custom illustrate things and just really get into that part of me that I hadn't used since college, really. So when I was ready to get back to work again, I wanted to tap into that. I was feeling creative, which is a big indicator for me of the status of my mental health. If I'm doing well, I want to create. And I knew graphic design jobs are hard to find. I knew it would probably require a commute if I could find one. And I just really didn't want to be a part of that. And I thought, I think I'm just going to work for myself. And I knew I could at least get freelance design work once I got my name out there. Um, I wasn't sure if the t-shirt design part of it would be able to sustain a career, but it turns out it can, which I'm thrilled about because I love that even more than doing freelance design work. But yeah, it just started out just designing shirt graphics, and the scoop part came a few months after.
I love that. That's so cool. I actually just heard the other day on either a reel or a podcast I was listening to, someone said, one of the signs of like depression or going in that direction is a lack of creativity, like
Mhm.
when you're not creating. But a lot of times when you can start creating in whatever you're passionate in, that will help bring you out of whatever funk you're in. So it's so interesting that you just kind of touched on that.
It's true. And it's also something I use as a way to escape what I'm struggling with at times. If I find myself doom scrolling too much or paying too much attention to what people are saying online or current events, I like to throw myself into a creative project. Exactly what I did with this hutch behind me, which we were talking about earlier. I just threw myself into doing something creative, and it keeps me off my phone and away from, people's negativity that I don't want to deal with that, it seems sometimes so hard to escape.
Yeah, I love that.
Thank you.
So you mentioned your business sort of shifted at one point to incorporate more of your local community and things like that. What really led to that, and how did you maybe embrace that shift or the change, like as it was presented to you, and know or make you want to lean into that?
So I was just designing t-shirt designs for seasons. As you see, a lot of these files are available to purchase on Etsy that people can download and make their own t-shirts with. So I was kind of mimicking that business format. I was designing them, but I was making the shirts or selling the shirts myself, not selling my files. And I got I was gonna do it was April, I think, and I decided I'm gonna make something patriotic for the 4th of July. And I had already done one skook design. I have a picture on my cup here. This one with the smiley face that says skook.
I
So I
have
had
that.
done that one, and oh, you do?
I
Oh,
do.
so, and people seem to respond to it really well. And I was like, I think more cute, fun skook shirts would really be needed or are really needed in this area. And I got it in my head to do red, white, and skook. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so cute
That's
because
cute.
like people love patriotism and people love buying t-shirts for the 4th of July to wear to picnics. So I was going to do it with cute cartoon characters like a hot dog and a snow cone or an ice cream, like summer things, like holding fireworks and that sort of thing. And then I was thinking more and I realized those aren't skook things at all. Those are other cultures that just kind of become generic American, I guess. And if I really want this to be red, white, and skook, I need to bring skook things into it. So I drew a pierogi and a bottle of lager and an iced tea carton, and I gave them little personalities and holding fireworks and wearing like star sunglasses and peace sign sunglasses and just having a great time. And that was the one that really took off and made my business become a reality, a real thing that I realized this can be something.
Yeah, I love that. And
Thank
I think
you.
it's so cool because your shirts are so unique. Like everything you make, I didn't know this, but it's like hand drawn by you. And so I think the uniqueness of what you create is what makes it so cool. So
Feel,
so
feel.
I absolutely love that. All right, let's transition, okay, into a little bit about your journey that you've had as you've been creating this business. Okay, so you shared that your mental health journey, played a big role in starting your business. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. I had been struggling with chronic pain and issues for a really long time, and I needed a lot of surgeries. And with some other things that were happening at the same time, my mental health really got bad and I was in a really bad place. I didn't really feel like I had much of a purpose. I was struggling for a really long time. I had been seeking treatment for my mental health issues. Sorry, Nora's running around. Can you hear her?
Okay. No, you're fine.
Okay. Okay.
Mm-mm.
I'm so sorry.
That's
I
okay.
had been seeking treatment and taking prescriptions to help. I'd been going to therapy, but it just wasn't helping. And things just got worse and worse. I ended up being hospitalized for my mental health. Um, I got discharged. I was still not doing so good. I um, attempted to take my own life uh, and went back into the hospital. And after that, I just realized I have to really start changing things about me. You can go to all the therapy you want and you can take the prescriptions as directed by your doctors, but if you don't actually change things, then you're not going to feel any better. So I really started just focusing on not the things that, putting less focus on the things that drag me down and put more focus into the things that bring me joy.
Right.
And just trying to, if you're struggling with your mental health and you're struggling to just get dressed or get out of bed, then just focusing on doing the littlest of things that bring you joy, like I don't know, go out and get a donut, get a shower, wash the sheets. Things that are just little tiny things that make your day nicer. Just put your energy into those to start and then work from there. And then start being more responsible with how you're using your energy and slowly build up. And that was kind of what I did. And more as I started improving, I realized like there was so much I was doing that was actually making my depression worse. So if I'm constantly plugged into the news cycle, I'm going to be in a bad mood. And I think that the news cycle is meant to do that. It's meant to make you unhappy and outraged. And I was completely victim to it. So, I try not to pay as much attention to it. Like, yes, I know what's going on, but I'm not going to be as absorbed into it. I stopped doing things that I don't really like to do that I always felt like I had to do uh, because I was expected to or because others wanted me to. And I know that sounds a little selfish at this point. I'm very much for helping others and being kind, but I don't have to I had to figure out first what I wanted and needed before I could take care of everyone else's.
Yeah.
So I did more of that. And then I got to myself to a point where I was ready to work again. And if I was going to work, which I wanted to, I knew I wanted to do something that brought me joy. And um, graphic t-shirts have always been my favorite thing to wear. They still are ever since I was a kid. I love them. And I thought, what could make me happier than making my own t-shirts? So that's what I decided to do. And I focus my energy into creating designs that make me happy.
Yeah.
So with the characters, with the red, white, and skook, with the skook smile that I just showed you, all of these things, they just bring me joy to make. So it in turn has made my mental health improve a great deal.
Yeah. I love that.
Wow. Yeah,
Thank
thank you.
you.
First off, just thank you so much for being vulnerable and sharing that with us and anyone that's listening. So I know that can't be easy, but you just sharing your story, I think, is really going to help people. And,
I
you know,
hope
there's
so. Yeah.
so much, even if it's not exactly the same, I think there's so many pieces of your story that people can relate to in different ways.
Mhm.
So I just want to say thank you for that. And so glad that you're, on the other side here to share that with us. So I appreciate that. I'd be curious after moving into this maybe next season, as you might call it, if, okay, you started your business and you're leaning more into things that you find joy. Clearly, not every day is going to be sunshine and roses because this is life, right? We live in reality. So, when things creep up or, those feelings start to maybe resurface, what have you found maybe some of the lessons or tips that you've leaned into now running a business and having to balance your mental health in this new way of life, so to speak?
I have found that I thrive when I am just home by myself. That is where I function best. That is, I just want to be in my comfy clothes with paint all over me, cooking, making, making cookies, whatever it is. That's where I really shine the brightest. And so when I feel myself sinking, I try to not make plans. And I know that sounds the opposite of what you're supposed to be doing, but for me, that's what works. Don't make plans. Put down my phone, put it away, turn off the TV. If the TV is on, it has to be a comfort movie, one that I know all the words to and that I can repeat, and it's just kind of background noise. And I throw myself into a project, no matter what it is. Like I said, sourdough, cookies, painting, um, coloring, learning to illustrate on my iPad, which is something new I'm learning. Whatever it may be, that is what heals me. That is what makes me feel better. I put my phone on do not disturb, or I put it far away from me, face down, so I don't even know who's trying to contact me. I play music. That's an important part. Music has to be in there, and it has to be happy music. It can't be the sad emo stuff that kind of makes me cry. The Beatles, for example, that always helps. And I just kind of throw myself into it and try to get. I don't know if you've ever heard about the left brain, right brain theory. So your right brain controls all of your creativity and artistic things, where your left brain kind of controls more of your thinking and critical skills. And they kind of compete with each other for how they work. So if you can get all up in your right brain and engage that, your left brain kind of shuts down. So you can't think about what people are said to you or that rough day that you had or anything like that. It kind of makes that all just go to the background.
Yeah.
Awesome. So it sounds like you found your tools
Yes.
Yeah.
in your toolbox that work for you, right? So
Yes.
I think maybe the key for others is what are the things for you specifically that are your tools that bring you joy or like that help you recharge? You mentioned I'm also someone that I recharge with alone time and like quiet time and things like that. So knowing those things about yourself and that having that self-awareness is really key.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, Jen, it sounds to me like you're super self-aware, which I think is so important. Like having that self-awareness about what you specifically need is key to like turning yourself in the opposite direction when you feel yourself going towards,
Hmm.
maybe more of like a depressive kind of mood or whatever, even, how our moods change and as women, our hormones and all that stuff. Being so self-aware, I think is such a gift. And I
Yeah.
think it's an important journey that as women, we all have to learn kind of what makes us tick. And I love that you love to be at home and making cookies and doing all that stuff, and being crafty because I think it also changes as we age. Like, I don't know if either of you are like this, but the things that used to make me tick when I was younger are not the things that make me tick now. Like, if I'm feeling overwhelmed or whatever, I'm the same way. Like, I describe myself sometimes as an introverted extrovert. Like, I need to be at my house. Like, I love a good Sunday with lots of football and nowhere to be because
Yeah.
I can just recharge and I don't have to be pouring out in other people. So I love that you've figured out, what makes you you. So that's a great thing that our listeners can focus on too.
Hmm. Thank
So,
you.
yeah, you're welcome.
It
So,
has taken a, oh, sorry.
no, go ahead. What were you going to say?
It has taken a while, and that was part of that recovery process was becoming more self-aware, becoming what makes me tick and what do I really want? Because for a while, I don't think I was really paying attention to
Yeah.
what I really want.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Think that's very
absolutely.
common.
Yeah.
Definitely very common. So, yeah, maybe for anyone listening, use this as an invitation to reflect on are you aware of kind of what sets you off or what maybe sends you into a spiral and what things help you come back to equilibrium.
Mhm.
And if you do, awesome. And if not, again, like use this as an invitation to think about that or,
Mhm.
to start exploring it and like, okay, what does help me feel better? So
Yep.
that I know that I can tap into it when I'm in these different states.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to kind of turn the conversation to kind of it deals with the mental health, but this is different. And I'm going to use an example of the very first time I met you. I had asked you to be a model for my portfolio that I do for businesswomen in my business that I have outside of the podcast. And you were like, "Oh my gosh, that's so sweet, but that's just not something that I'm comfortable with right now." And it was right after you had started your business. And
Mhm.
then it was maybe like a year or two later, I saw you and you were like a whole different like person, like m outgoing and just talking to everyone. And I was so intrigued at that transformation. So you've mentioned that being the face of your brand was uncomfortable for you at first. So what helped you really get past that? Step out of your comfort zone.
Honestly, it's not something I would have done on my own, not at all. And I know when you asked me that, I was like, oh my gosh, no, I can't do that. No. Um, I took a class in selling yourself. It's a course called Acorn Academy, and the instructor, the creator, Krista Dempster, I went to high school with her, and I had been following her content on social media since we've known each other. I've known her since seventh grade. So I've always been following her content. And she kept talking about you having the confidence to put yourself out there. And you have to talk about your business. You have to be the reason that people want to shop with you. You're the special thing about your business. And people need to see that because otherwise you're just selling a product.
Mhm.
And I started taking her classes and I will tell you a funny story. The very first class I went to, I think the first two classes I went to, I couldn't even turn on my camera in the Zoom class. I was so shy. I had my microphone on. I just kind of pretended like I was like driving or something. I don't know. Because I was so nervous about just being on a Zoom. And in the third class, we went through a series of things to do to make an Instagram story where you're talking to the camera. And I freaked out. I knew what I was signing up for when I was getting into it, but also I didn't realize I was going to have to do it so quickly.
You're like, wait, I'm actually gonna have to do
I
this
have
stuff?
to do this.
What's
I
this
mean, yes,
about?
I'm gonna do what I signed up
I
for.
have to
Oh my gosh.
be accountable.
That's
And
funny.
I I could have, yes, I could have just avoided it. I didn't have to do it. There was no circumstance like I wasn't going to get a bad grade or not graduate or any of these things, but I knew I am dedicating time and money into this course to make myself better. So avoiding the assignment isn't going to make me better. I got to kind of
Mhm.
do it. So I did, and it took me hours to make this Instagram story. And I kept talking to the camera and stopping, no, 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 and like starting over and starting over. It was awful. It was so cringy. And um, I finally just got through it. Oh, sorry, Nora's here. I finally, I'm gonna put her outside really quick.
There's
Was I did the first assignment, which was to create a series of Instagram story slides. I think it was 7 slides, like two talking to the camera, and then one was an image, and then talking to the camera. And I just finally was like, okay, I just have to put this out into the universe and see what happens because I can't think over this anymore. And I did. And people were so responsive to seeing me on the camera, to seeing the person behind this, to hearing my story, that it wasn't just about, oh, look at all the viewers I got. It was about people really do want to know this stuff. And that made me feel better about it. And slowly but surely, I started doing it more and more, just like with anything else, practice makes it easier.
Mhm.
It's still very hard. Uh, Doing this is actually not as hard as sitting and talking to the camera to make like a reel or a story for me because there's somebody asking me the questions, so it's easier. But it is getting better. I'm a year into this class now, and I have completely come out of my shell by doing it.
I love
That's
that.
awesome. I think that is a
Yeah.
good story for others as well, whether it's social media or you're a business owner, regardless. I think the story of one, signing up for something that's completely out of your comfort zone and even doing that and saying yes to that, and two, putting in the work then as well and challenging yourself. Like you said, it's like, okay, I signed up. I didn't really have to do the assignments, but you did. So whatever that might look like in you as a listener's life.
Mhm.
Just a great story, I think. And to see, okay, a year later, and it's worked, right? Like you've said,
Yes.
I'm so much more confident. Like I'm a different person. You know what I mean? So I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank
I
you.
think too, like it it really goes with the self-development piece. And Ashley and I talk about that all the time. Like we are learners. We want to learn all the things.
Hmm.
Like that's why we wanted to do the guest portion of this and invite people on because we want to help people learn in about different areas where maybe like we're not, we don't know as much. And then also just to share other people's stories of how they've overcome things or what they've learned. And so that personal self-development is key. And it's the stepping out of your comfort zone, which no matter if you own a business or, you work a full-time job, like it doesn't matter what you do as your career. There's always going to be moments and opportunities in your life where you're going to be challenged to step outside of your comfort zone. And no growth happens inside of our comfort zone. So I think it's so cool that you took that initiative to take the class and step out of your comfort zone and to actually stay committed, to have the discipline to be like, I paid for this. I committed to it. I'm doing it. Because that's when a lot of people actually throw in the towel, I think. They're
Hmm.
like, well, I paid for it, but I don't know if I could do this. I'm just going to pretend like I didn't sign up for this. So I love that about your story.
Yeah.
Thank
What
you.
would you say, maybe some advice for folks who are struggling stepping out of their comfort zone, like they're feeling like they want to, but they're scared, they're nervous. What advice do you have for folks in that situation? Like how to get started or how to take the leap?
I would start with something low stakes. For me, as I said, it was doing an Instagram story. That's only on there for 24 hours. It's not committed to the internet forever. Um, and I would recommend kind of just like I did, like I signed up for this. I have to do it. Whereas if it was just something I was watching on YouTube, I probably wouldn't have followed through.
Hmm.
Um, I would recommend just doing it. Don't think about it. Don't fret over it. Just push yourself into it. And I know that's so trite. Nike's slogan is just do it. You just got to dive in there and just put your best effort in and you'll be happy. You'll be happy once it's over, at least the first time, and you're not going to worry about it anymore, and it's just going to get easier.
It's funny.
Yeah.
I love
No,
that.
I don't think it's, I mean, I know it sounds trite, just do it, but it's much easier said than done for sure.
Yeah,
So I think it makes sense.
Yeah.
definitely.
How would you say, Jen, that putting yourself out there and stepping out of your comfort zone has impacted your connection with your audience, with your customers, with the people who know you?
I have developed a friendship with customers that I never would have expected had I not put myself out there. For one, I started sharing my mental health journey, which wasn't something I ever planned on sharing when I started taking this class or started putting myself out there as the face of the business. Never in a million years did I think I'm going to tell the whole internet about my mental health struggles. That really connected me to my audience and to people reaching out and telling me about their own issues and um, what they've gone through or what family members have gone through, or just I'm always here if you need to talk to somebody, or just the support I felt from people just from sharing my journey. When I share background about how I'm designing things or why I come up with the decisions that I come up with, the silly little things I think about, um, people really respond well to that too. And it's fun to just laugh together over those things I was talking about. I drew a pierogi dressed as a skeleton, and I was trying to think, well, if a pierogi had a skeleton, what would it look like? Does it have ribs? Does it have hips? Like, I don't know. This is uncharted territory. And it's fun to tell people that and get that laugh together. Like, yes, this is the silly stuff I'm doing with my career, and I love it.
Love
That's so
that.
cool.
Yeah, I'd be curious, have there been any challenges, apart from the obvious, I think, of what we already talked about and kind of putting yourself out there, any particular challenges that come to mind that did pop up for you during this transformation or during this season, um, that you had to overcome? Maybe that you didn't expect or,
Yes,
kind of came out of nowhere?
yes, absolutely. There was one really tough moment that I had that really kind of set me back in my mental health journey. I kind of didn't want to get out of bed. I was struggling, and that was someone kind of attacked me on social media. And people started sort of ganging up and calling me terrible things. And I had people reaching out to me in private messages, calling me all sorts of names and telling me what an awful person I am. And if you're already struggling with your confidence and your mental health and somebody tells you that, it's really easy to believe them. It's really
Wow.
easy
Yeah.
to say, okay, well, yeah, I guess I am. I guess I am that way. I guess I am this horrible person. And I wanted to just give up. I just wanted to give up my business and hide from everyone. And as I said, I tend to just want to be alone when I'm going through things. So I wanted to just completely absorb myself back into that. I'm not going out in public. I don't want to be around people ever again. I'm giving up this business. I'll find something else to do. And you know, I guess it's okay to get yourself into that mindset, but you can't stay there. Like I got it out. I struggled. I had a rough couple days, but then I had to kind of pick myself up, dust myself off, and get back to it. Like I realized what the stakes were. Do I really want to do something else? Do I really want to work for somebody else? Do I really want to give up making skeleton pierogies for a living? No, no, I don't. So, the bullies can shove off. I don't care.
Yeah.
Wow, good for you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's got
And
to be
I
really, really tough.
Yeah, and I watched part of that happening. I feel like, and cyberbullying is such a thing that I feel
Hmm.
like if it's something you've never been through, you might think it's not such a big deal, or you don't really understand the toll that it takes on the person who's on the receiving end of it. But I watched Jen go through that season with such grace, just as an outsider. And so just know, Jen, that there there were people who, fully support you and just saw you handling it in such a graceful way, which I think speaks to who you are as a person. But aside from that, I think too, when we're faced with things like that, it's important that we go to the people who truly do know us, like the people who really know our heart, who we are as a person. And, I had a situation not that long ago, and I was sharing with Jen because I knew what she went through. And I just said, Oh my gosh, I've never been on the receiving end of like a social media, you know, I don't know, post, even a negative post for
Mhm.
that matter. And Jen was just so kind to me, like checking in on me. Are you okay? Like, I know how hard it is to go through that. So, Jen, I just want to tell you on here how much I appreciated that. But the reminders for me and some of the things that you shared with me were, just remember who you are, what you're passionate about, what your mission is. And, I always joke with my kids and say, haters gonna hate. Like, just let that kind of be the noise and don't let those things take you away from your mission and your passion. So I'm so glad that you didn't decide to stop drawing skeleton pierogies, which if anybody doesn't know what a pierogi is, what is that? Is it what ethnicity makes the
I
pierogi?
think it's Polish, isn't it?
It's
Polish, right?
Polish, yeah,
Yeah.
Eastern
Yeah.
European. It is a potato-filled dumpling that
Yes.
we fry in butter and onions usually, or deep fry,
Deep fry.
and they are just little pockets of deliciousness.
Yes. So
Yeah.
I know there might be people who are like aren't from, Schuylkill County or one of the surrounding counties where pierogies are a big hit. They're at all of the concession stands and all the fairs. You'll find them. But yeah, so Jen, I'm so glad that you decided to keep pushing on because we wouldn't have had you here on the podcast today either. So,
No, and I wouldn't have seen you that day when you were going through it, and I wouldn't have been able to say to you, no, don't let these people do this to you, and just know that, I wouldn't have had the experience I had to be able to pass on to you and just offer
mhm.
some encouragement through it. So
Yeah.
I think that was meant to happen, that we were meant to see each other that day.
Yes, I think
Yes,
so too, because it was complete perfect timing.
yes.
Okay. So let's kind of start to wrap this up a little bit so we don't want to take up all of your time today, Jen. But we always ask everyone who comes on our podcast a similar version of this question. And because we're the Hustle and Harmony podcast, our question is, what does living with purpose and harmony mean to you?
I think it means I have to be on top of, as you said, self-aware. I have to be doing what makes me me to be able to live with purpose, to be
Mhm.
able to work, to be able to make an income, to be able to provide a career and take care of my dog Nora and take care of those around me. Because if I'm neglecting taking care of myself, then none of those other things are going to happen and no one else is getting taken care of either.
Right. Right. I
One thing
love
I
that.
hear you say, which is, I think it's been a theme with this question, Alyssa, if you agree, is the importance of being authentic
Yes.
with yourself, or, you know what I mean? Embracing the parts of you that do bring you joy and do really make you you. And like when you're able to tap into that in some way, shape, or form, that's when you feel on purpose.
Hmm.
That's when you feel more lit up and that you can kind of move through the world in that way. So
Yeah.
I just find that interesting. I love that this has been recurring. Now that we're a few deep
Yeah.
into this question, we
Yep.
can see the thread there. So I think
Yeah.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's all about being authentically who you are. And what I love is seeing how each person is individually authentic to themselves.
Yeah.
Like, I just think that that's so interesting and just shows like, how different we really are, but a common thread that still ties us all together is
Hmm.
that in order to be living in our purpose and to have a joy-filled life, it's when we're truly living as our authentic selves and who we were called to be. So,
Yeah, very cool.
Yes, absolutely.
Another question I'd love for you to share with us, before we wrap up is what are you hoping people walk away from this conversation with, right? For those listening, what's, the big takeaway that you hope people remember from this episode?
Whatever you're going through right now, no matter how hard it is, you can get through it. You can overcome it. It's going to get better. Um, just show up every day. Be you, as we said, be authentic, and it's going to get easier.
yeah.
And if I can do it, certainly anybody can.
I love that. That's such a good message to
Yeah,
share with
thank you for that.
everyone, and it's been so fun, Jen, to watch your journey as like from the first time I met you as a new business owner to where you are today, I mean, you blow Instagram out of the water. Every time I'm on Instagram, I'm like, look at Jen. Like your posts are amazing. She does all these amazing reels and all these things. And I'm like, oh, when I grow up and get better at social media, I'm
Oh
Jen.
My gosh, thank you.
Oh, you're really doing awesome. And it's just been really fun to watch your transformation. And I appreciate your vulnerability of being willing to come on here and share your story because, we each have a story and you never know who your story will help or who it will bless. And so we're just appreciative of you being willing to be on here. Now, before we go, though, I want to make sure that everyone who listens knows how they can connect with you. Okay, so do you want to tell them how they can connect with you on social media? Do you have a website? Where can they find you?
You can order and shop for all of my products on my website, noraspossumteas.com. And you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok under the same name, Nora's Possum Teas. Also, I'm in some boutiques around Schuylkill County, including Sugar and Company in Minersville, um, Beauty Bee Storefront on the Trail, Kitty Lou Boutique, and Three Sweets in Monterey City.
Yay. Well,
Nice.
thank you, Jen. Ash, do you want to take us out?
yeah. Yeah, thanks again, Jen, for being here. Just really, nice talking to you and hearing your story and your takeaways for the audience. So we appreciate it. And yes, okay, so to wrap us up, everyone remember we release episodes every other week. We have a lot of folks lined up. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. You follow us on all of your favorite audio platforms. You leave reviews, you share us with a friend. Like, please do all of the things to get, this message and all of our messages with all of our fabulous guests out to the world, right? Because we know that there's definitely people out there that can benefit from the lessons here and the takeaways. So we appreciate your support as always, and we'll see you on the next one.
Yeah, see you next time, everybody. Bye.